How does one UFC fighter go from the fiercest man alive
Everybody, I come here for everybody, kill everybody! Ah!
to a crypto shilling piece on a dictator's chessboard?
There is one crypto coin about me, they call it Smash.
The Chechen's downfall is one that on the surface seems deserved and justified, but amidst the mire of dirty politics and out-of-camp dealings are the narrative threads of a tragic tale. Unlike many of the crestfallen veterans clinging onto their past glories, Borz's decline is founded on a decaying body, mind and soul. From a man once immortal to one broken inside and out, this is the downfall of Khamzat Chimaev. It's easy to look and see Khamzat's rise as one easily granted through raw athletic ability.
Khamzat Chimaev remarkably does it again!
But far before his success in the world of MMA was an esteemed career forged through a wrestling background. Plying his trade in Chechnya before further success in Sweden, he quickly garnered the reputation as one of the best to grace the mat, winning 3 national championships in 2 different weight classes. It was a success on the sporting front, but as the world of MMA grew into the mainstream, Khamzat desired the golden glory that came with it, and the spark lit for his mixed martial arts ascendancy came at the hands of a certain striker, the most revered of them all.
The one, the only, the notorious Conor McGregor!
I was working on a fight Aldo. I was look at that, it's like if the guys make so many money, like millions and this stuff, why I can't do it now? Everything, I'm fighter, I'm warrior. Like I feel that when I was born, all the time I feel like something special inside in me, and how to just take out it somewhere.
To start a sport as unforgiving as this so late in your life requires a special talent, an athletic background and the work ethic to outmatch any man. Only the special few make it to the top, and despite putting on the gloves at 23, Chimaev was ready to do whatever it took to ascend to glory. If that meant dropping everything and everyone he held dear in the quest for gold, then it was a necessary sacrifice. Fighting out of All-Star Training Center in Sweden, it's a sentence that couldn't be more literal.
People say they live in the gym, but I'm real living in the gym, brother. Look at this, my house.
Honing his craft amongst the legendary Alexander Gustafsson, his new path had begun. An eventual pro debut 3 years on from the lighting of a spark would mark a legendary finishing run through Brave CF and other regional promotions.
Han svimmat, klappar inte. Vi har en vinst på submission första ronden.
Big hammer fist, that's it!
It's all over.
Those are huge strikes! Oh! By Khamzat.
Oh! The right hand uppercut knocks him out!
It was clear that he was special, and that uppercut KO over now contender Ikram Aliskerov in hindsight only proved it. And it was that KO that put the UFC on his radar, and after only 1 fight more, at an admittedly green 6-0 record, his chance would come. Not on the Contender Series, no, straight into the deep end. And as millions huddled round their TV screens to escape the COVID pandemic, if only for a brief moment, Khamzat would be there to provide, thrusting his name into the limelight for the very first time.
Fighting out of the blue corner, an undefeated mixed martial artist, holding a perfect professional record out of Stockholm, Sweden, Khamzat Chimaev.
Underdog out of the southpaw stance in black, Khamzat.
Oh,
that shot. And I just don't know if John Phillips can continue to take that kind of punishment.
There's the tap.
Wow.
Khamzat Chimaev by submission. Khamzat Chimaev.
I'm telling you, the guy is like nothing I've ever seen before. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Special.
In a matter of minutes, Chimaev had gone from relative unknown to one of the hottest topics on the roster. Accentuated by the circumstances of COVID, perhaps, but he made his own fate and had carved a path on his terms. But it was the first step of many, and to take on a second bout in a record-setting 10-day turnaround was the first of its kind, and an even more dominant win than the first.
You look at the welterweight division and see anybody that can challenge you right now. I mean,
I'm gonna smash everybody. How many fighters in the MMA division? I'm gonna smash the whole division.
You smash somebody, you get money, brother. It's perfect for me.
His wrestling pedigree well established, but the wider fan base craved raw, unadulterated violence. The art of the knockout is a skill even some of the top-level fighters don't possess. But come 2 months later, Chimaev would provide the answers to any questions the doubters may have had.
If you choke me out, I'll find a black belt, give it to you. How about that?
If I choke you out, you will finish with this sport.
Mershart, Chimaev orthodox in black.
elementary. To the masses, Chimaev's rise was unprecedented, but to himself, it was an outcome expected as an inevitability. And that was half the charm of his persona. Not a man fronting confidence, bravado. Just like the man he was inspired by, everything Chimaev said, he believed to the utmost degree.
Can you imagine, could you have pictured it to be like this? Did you think it would be like this?
Yeah, but when I start MMA, I always think I'm gonna be champion in the UFC. But now it's going so crazy fast, you know. See, I was thinking it's gonna be like that.
Despite not nearing a championship belt, let alone the top 5, his notoriety had matched those of such a status. And whilst for most that would be a positive, greater riches, more eyes upon you, for Chimaev there was a darker result. His actions inside the cage had caught the watchful eye of one wrathful dictator, the bloodthirsty Chechen warlord Ramzan Kadyrov, a man with far more influence than even that of Dana White himself. This was a different player, one notorious on the global stage. Known for flaunting his lavish lifestyle and connections with sporting greats, the dictator would use that persona as a front on social media to mask his despicable acts. Allegations of war crimes, foul play, and numerous human rights violations had him plastered with a dangerous reputation.
Well, Khamzat is friends with that Kardyev guy, the guy who's the leader of Chechnya. There was a guy who used to fight for the UFC who left the UFC and went to work for him, and like his second guy.
Who's that?
Some dude, and then he wound up getting killed.
The Amnesty International said that the Chechen government was killing and torturing gay people.
Oh, they definitely are.
Floyd Money Mayweather and the polarizing Steven Seagal, just 2 of the many names coaxed into a quote-unquote friendship with the dictator. And now Khamzat Chimaev was the shiny new toy. To oppose him would mean a fate worse than death. Kadyrov's army ruled with merciless intent, and to step out of line, if only for a moment, had proven in the past to be a grave mistake. But for now, at least in the public eye, their relationship, for lack of a better term, lay dormant, incognito, as Khamzat's rise through the UFC only continued. A man of his mindset was not to be deterred from even such grave distractions, but as the global event that granted him his chance with the UFC continued its torment, so too would it catch up to him.
Again, you were scheduled to fight Leon Edwards on March 13th. It came out about a month before that you were having problems. Like what were your symptoms, COVID?
Blood, like when I come out sometimes. I like think too much, you know, like think too much like about when I'm gonna be healthy, when I can fight, when I can go train.
Well, the problem with him was when he got COVID, he would not stop training. And so he had full-blown COVID, and he was just beating his body into the ground every day. And
it's
then
a
wound up in
shame,
the hospital.
man.
Multiple times in the hospital.
I know, it's a shame.
I've said many a time that martial arts is the cruelest of games. It does not discriminate, makes no exceptions. And to be the greatest, one must fortify the mind and push forward. Chimaev had been cut down when his momentum was at its greatest, and at least initially, after another devastating bout with COVID, his time in the sport was over. Such a predicament brought shades of one fated individual, Uppbeat Magomed Sharapov, a fan favorite featherweight who put the art into martial arts. His striking skills made him a legend. And yet, despite closing in on the throne, illness had slayed him where he stood, forcing him into a life of normality. Dana White would quell the rumors of a similar fate for Chimaev, but more sinister reports would emerge of Kadyrov himself convincing his fellow Chechen to return to the fight game. Now, with his influence and reputation, forced is probably the better term, for if Khamzat was to portray the wishes of his superior, I think you know what the outcome would be. Coaxed by the allure of the high life, the shiny new car that he promptly crashed was the first of many gifts. And Khamzat was hardly the first nor the last. Kadyrov's long arm aimed to reach other UFC alumni, whether they wanted any part of it or not.
That's the one I was going to go
That was
there.
the one you were invited to?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because they're kind of facing a little backlash.
I've heard. So, because the reason we never really ended up going is because we were saying, like, who is this for?
Yeah.
And we didn't really get an answer. So I'm like, fuck that.
It's a little sketchy.
Emron, you know, I'd listen to Emron's advice, and Emron was like, hey, I don't have a good feeling about this. Let's not move forward with that. The guy is like a murderer, basically, the top dog.
Yeah, I think he's
like best friends with Putin.
Yeah.
He's like not a good person. And that's who they went there to his kid's birthday party.
Through Dana or Ramzan's efforts, eventually Chimaev would return, recuperated, recovered. Over a year on from his last performance in an empty arena, he was back in front of the masses to remind everyone what he was capable of.
Do you believe him now? Khamzat Chimaev has firmly put the welterweight top 10 on notice.
He broke the modern UFC record with 3 wins in the shortest time, and he's shot to stardom.
Oh, he's playing the mark.
Well, eating a lot of big shots here.
It's over.
That's it. Khamzat Chimaev remarkably does it again.
Everybody, I come in for everybody. Kill everybody. Ah!
Boers had found his chance on a pay-per-view main card, seized the opportunity, and passed the test with flying colours. To talk to the boss mid-fight only reinforced his aura of immortality and only rose his stock to new heights. And a friendship of unlikely proportions would only bolster it further. Lovably coined the Smesh Bros, a bond with one Darren the Gorilla Till unearthed the compassionate human side to Chimaev that lay beneath the fighter.
You know, I said to Khamzat, can I come over and train with you? And he was like, of course, brother. Like, you know, you're very welcome to come to Sweden. So as soon as I got there, we just sort of like, you know, like clicked straight away. So now it's Team Smash Bros for life.
With the combination of their experience and opposing disciplines, Chimaev had grown further in the striking realm, and he would needed to take on the next man in his way. Former title challenger Gilbert Burns, a BJJ prodigy and longtime mainstay of the company. A formidable test, but one that most on the hype train's tracks saw as a mismatch in favor of the Chechen.
Hey, I'm gonna smash that guy, knock him out 1 minute, guys. I promise you. He's too little, boy.
Let's do it, can't wait.
King is here.
The stage was set, and Chimaev on the surface seemed unfazed. But when you're at your greatest, your ego propelled to the highest degree, it can often be your undoing. The decision to throw himself into the fire for an addition to the highlight reel was the first of many dominoes to fall.
Khamzat Chimaev, minus 525, the betting favorite at close against Gilbert Jarino Burns.
Good right hand by Gilbert.
Oh, wow. Straight right hand drops Burns. Oh, big crowd strikes now from Chimaev. Burns trying to fire back.
Trying to swing from his back.
30 seconds left in round one.
Beautiful.
Good jab for
kick.
Burns. That got Chimaev's attention. We're getting to round two.
Wow. Gilbert clipped him in the left.
Oh, and an uppercut for Burns. Chimaev backs up.
Oh, he tapped him again. Oh,
now Gilbert Burns. He's down. Chimaev starting to tee off. Burns in a world of trouble, or so it would seem. Burns trying to fire back as best he can. What a fight. Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns go the full 15.
Khamzat for Chimaev.
Scars of war gained. Chimaev had won, as had the fans, but his aura of immortality carried to this point had been shattered unceremoniously. No longer the unstoppable force, he was human, and a glaring lack of cardio was the Achilles heel. Perhaps the psychological torment from Kadyrov was part of the reason for such shortcomings in the cage. I'd wager it's a possibility. As Chimaev's public image only grew, so too did his relationship with the dictator. A strange video would emerge only months later of the two sparring, with the dictator miraculously, of course, coming out the victor. On the fighting front, though, things were proceeding as planned, at least in that a bout was scheduled. His adversary, though, would come from the most unlikely of places. Though the star power of both combined was to be admired, their fighting trajectories couldn't have differed anymore. Diaz was a man aged, battered and bruised from years of battle, and in truth, his legacy lay at lightweight. Chimaev, on the other hand, even after a questionable last performance, was in his athletic prime and dwarfed his opponent physically. It was a fight rightfully shunned by the masses, and its inception was rumored to be a punishment for Diaz's previous transgressions with the UFC.
They're not gonna let me go. You're not gonna let me go unless it's off of somebody. I gotta make somebody for you. Well, you're welcome. Let's make you. Why the UFC been disrespecting and making me be like their fall guy or something? Him, them, everybody.
UFC wants to kill that guy, you know, like how to do it.
Like a hitman almost.
Yeah, like that.
Thankfully, we would never see the bloodbath many expected, as in the Chimaev camp, a series of incidents would unfurl the event entirely. The first of which, a backstage brawl with the fan favourite Kevin Holland that stoked the flames. Unknowingly, it had springboarded a future clash, and Chimaev's following 8-pound weight miss would cement it. Though the team would cite medical issues, his nonchalant expression pointed to something deeper behind the scenes. The resulting fallout left Diaz against another aging veteran in Tony Ferguson, a main event more fitting, leaving Chimaev to ply his trade against the aforementioned Holland.
It looked like his right hand was
Chimaev disposes of Kevin Holland.
To do that to Kevin Holland is unbelievable. And the way he did it.
A win expected considering Holland's grappling shortcomings and the effortless submission showing shades of what Khamzat was capable of at his best. But the whirlwind of fight week had brought the fan perception down, even in spite of a victory. Another lengthy layoff of over a year would do little to aid him either, with further ties to Kadyrov and his family outside of the cage in that time frame, only painting a further negative light. His eventual return at UFC 294 was notable in that regard. An event staged at Abu Dhabi, the rumor mill had swirled in his absence. That his ties to the criminal had prevented any travel to the United States, forcing the UFC to have him compete elsewhere. To the unassuming fan, it was little problem. Chimaev was back in the cage, and this time against the former king Kamaru Usman, stepping in on short notice. His first test of an elite caliber, the questions of his cardio were finally to be answered.
I've already said it before, I might not be the best striker, I might not be the best grappler, but when it comes to mixing it up, I'm the best in the world.
If you're the best, why you lost? Last 2 fights, you lost.
You're right, but that's part of being human, and that's a lesson I guess I have to teach you.
It was a chapter similar to many before. Khamzat had started the fight well, left with his hands raised, the victor, and yet public admiration was sorely lacking, the bulk of it instead going towards his adversary. Usman had shown an honourable account of himself on short notice, and it was a duel that perhaps in another timeline, with 5 rounds and a full camp, that he would have won.
You know, I kept coming off the couch in 10 days and fighting a young, hungry bull like that, who's big and strong. You know, he's had a year and a half to really grow into this weight class. You know, I say give me a couple extra rounds. I think the world knows what that result might be.
Another former king and Robert the Reaper Whittaker was the next in line, the winner of which likely to challenge for the middleweight throne. The cold, sleepless nights on a mattress in the gym, the hours of grafting and pain, boiled down to a penultimate duel.
What's up, everybody? So, a little news here. Unfortunately, Khamzat Chimaev is out of the fight next weekend in Saudi Arabia violently, and I mean violently ill.
It was a familiar story. And just like the boy who cried wolf, there was no sympathy left for a man who had failed to make that walk on countless occasions. On unknown medical grounds, Khamzat had thrown the main event into jeopardy just a week before the due date, only straining his relationships with the UFC and the fans further. A downfall unimaginable. From a man immortal, seemingly unbeatable, to one exposed inside the cage and out. But the precarious predicament of his ties with Kadyrov could mean every decision made, every outcome reached, were each against his will or wishes. The rumors would subsequently swirl once more of a potential retirement, and the eventual broken silence wasn't for reassurances, rather to promote and shill a crypto pump and dump scheme.
Hello guys, there is one crypto coin about me, they call it Smash. Let's smash together guys, let's go.
Smash coin, as it was predictably dubbed, probably plummeted in value soon after the advertisement. It was a fool's errand, a morally despicable act, and the contrast to his former self was astonishing. A man broken, bruised, incessantly spouting words for a quick buck. The tragic tale of Chimaev is marred with sinister dealings, seasoned players, and even though Khamzat is a physical presence and the most feared in the cage, outside of it he is nothing more than a puppet, hoisted by the strings of those in the shadows. I truly don't know if we will ever see the man in the cage again, but if this was his final chapter, let it be known of a precautionary tale, one that shows the dangers and the allure of potential benefits that the fight game possesses.